Hello and welcome back to Pro Tour Austin. I'm Randy Buehler, joined by Brian Kibler. It's got to be nice to be Brian Kibler right now. 8-0 day one of Honolulu, comes to the next Pro Tour in Austin, 8-0 again. How did that feel overnight?
Fantastic. It was actually, last night just hanging out at the house that I'm renting with a bunch of friends who are competing in the Pro Tour, and they're all just like, must be nice, 8-0 again.
Yeah, I think the response is.
Exactly what it was. My Facebook, Twitter updates, people would say exactly that. Must be nice. My reply was just, yep, certainly is. It's fantastic.
So you come in this morning, you get 3 rounds of draft, and then 5 more rounds of constructed. Now, what's your take on this draft format? What were you looking for when you looked at that first pack?
I really want to be aggressive in this draft format.
Okay.
I think that the format's really fast. There's a lot of, particularly in black and red, there's a lot of really good cheap creatures. A lot of 2-power creatures for 2 mana, even 2-power creatures for 1 mana with Vampire Lacerator.
Yeah.
So I think that you can really take advantage of the tempo. A lot of the decks, they can be a little clunky. If you aren't in those colors particularly. So
okay.
I generally look to draft black and red and usually try to be as aggressive as possible.
Okay, so you open up the first pack. Luminarch Ascension, Shepherd of the Lost, Nimana Sellsword, Blade Tusk Boar.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think when you see that pack?
Well, I think the best sort of card in a vacuum, I think, is Shepherd of the Lost.
Sure.
I think Luminarch
3/3 first strike vigilance.
Yeah,
for 5.
I think Luminarch Ascension is actually pretty overrated. A lot of times that card will come down and you'll spend a bunch of time protecting it, and then you just won't end up. It will often just have been better as a creature. You often just be better if you'd played. So, it can obviously win games in spectacular fashion. There's complete blowouts when you start making angels. But a lot of those games, if you're able to defend your life total every turn, there's a good chance you're winning anyway.
Fair. So you take Sellsword.
I take Sellsword.
Because you want to be black.
I think either black or red is the strongest color. It's debatable, and I think that out of that pack, I like Sellsword better than I like Blade Tusk Boar.
Sure.
I think the potential to get a reasonable ally deck. I don't try and draft like a heavy ally, looking for like Pumas and stuff type of deck generally. Right. But Sellsword's a really good one. You can get black red.
It starts out at Hill Giant. So
yeah, exactly. And the second one, if you have 2 Sellswords, your second creature is making your first one a black 4/4, which is really hard to kill.
Right. I think black's better than red.
It's debatable. You can get pretty insane mono red decks in this format because there's a lot of cards that are amazing in mono red that are really weak in other colors that you can get late. You can wheel things like Spire Barrage and Molten Ravager, all of which are pretty powerful in a mono red deck, but don't really fit into other archetypes.
Fair. So Sellsword first, then you go Torch Slinger, Giant Scorpion, a couple Lacerators 4/5. Like how high do you draft the Lacerator?
I think Lacerator is very good. Again, I want to be aggressive with my decks in this format, and Lacerator is one of the best aggressive creatures there is. In particular, I saw a Feast of Blood in my opening pack.
Okay.
And that was made it very attractive to try and pick up vampires.
Oh, because you thought that would come back ninth?
I was pretty certain that would come back to me, and it ended up coming back.
It absolutely did. You took it ninth.
Unfortunately, I didn't get enough vampires for the rest of the draft to actually run it. But that's the sort of thing that I try to look for. Little things like that can end up making a deck a lot stronger.
So how did it turn out? How did you feel about this?
I think my deck's solid, but not amazing. Okay. I never saw any 2-drops for red or black that I had really an opportunity to take.
Marauders lined up here, right?
I would love to have Marauders. I'd love to have the Highland Berserker or Goblin Shortcutter. Goblin Shortcutter I think is fantastic. I think it's one of the most underrated cards because as a 2-power 2-drop, it's great. And as your opponent's setting up their team to block, and you're just like, that guy can't block, come in. Yeah, and for an aggressive deck, that guy is one of the best cards.
Yeah, it is so hard to block in this format.
So thankfully I have 3 1-drops here, and they're solid 1-drops. Bloodseeker, he's a card that goes well with the bloodied theme.
Yeah.
I would again prefer to have say another 1-drop and 2 or 3 more 2-drops.
The Berserker would be particularly nice given the card you opened in pack 2.
Absolutely. The Kazuo Warlord is amazing.
Yeah.
I have 2 Sellswords to go with it.
Yeah.
But even just that curve.
The Diabolist as well.
And the Diabolist, yes. Even that curve, Sellsword into Warlord. you have awesome. you have 2 4/4s, and and any other ally, and all your guys are just gigantic.
Okay, so the 2-drops never came, but you got the Warlord, you got 3 Crypt Rippers. Pack 3 was kind of interesting because your first pack, you open up your pack.
Pack 3 was. I opened the pack. I'm just looking through it, and there's just nothing.
Where are the black cards?
It wasn't even just black. There was another Shepherd of the Lost, which was just taunting me.
Right.
It was just like you should have taken that Shepherd first in pack 1.
Right.
But yeah, I took Zeknar Shrine Expedition, which is a fine card. I actually think this is a card that's very underrated.
Okay.
It's decent in sort of defensive strategies. As just making an instant 7/1 to block.
Yeah, okay.
He's good at for a red-blue control deck trying to take out a green fatty.
Yeah.
Decent to block. It's also makes a ball lightning.
It's still not great, right? It's no Highland
it's
Berserker,
absolutely.
Marauder.
I mean, it is one of the weakest first picks I've ever made in this
There you
format.
go.
But I mean, I didn't really have any other options given the contents of the
So
pack.
then, tell me about the second pick.
The second pick, I don't even remember.
Disfigure
what it
versus Eldrazi
that one.
Monument.
I'm looking through the pack, and there's Disfigure, which is obviously a good card. You know,
Right.
cheap,
And you
efficient,
have no
black
removal.
spell. At that point, yeah, I was very lacking in removal. I have Torch Slinger, and I don't even think I had Heartstabber yet. So I have Torch Slinger to kill cute creatures. I think I got
Right.
Heartstabber in pack 3. But
No, you got a pack 2. You have
okay,
Mosquito
so
and the
yeah,
Torch Slinger.
but still, I'm very light in removal. Usually in a black-red deck, I want to have 2, 3, 4 removal at least. I mean that's the makings of a really solid deck. So I have Disfigure staring back at me, which is obviously a powerful card.
Right.
And then I'm looking at Eldrazi Monument, which, looking at it, I mean, it looks really powerful. It looks like a card that you play it and you win the game.
But it's a mythic rare.
But I've never played with the card before.
Right.
I mean, in practice drafts, leading up to this, I would often just, when in doubt, take the rare, play with the rare, learn about it.
Yep.
But this is the Pro Tour. I'm 8-0, trying to make a run for top 8. I went with what I knew was good rather than what I speculated could be great.
Right.
And well, then Watanabe just plastered me with Monument, which he got 6th, which totally blew my mind.
Now, I was going through exactly the same logic because I'm looking over your shoulder. I'm like, I know Disfigure is good. Monument looks like it could be insane, right? Is it overrun or it's like sack a creature? And there's not, you don't tend to get stalemates in this format. It's not like you build up a giant board.
I mean, you do have races,
Right.
which it seems like in a race, you can play that and come in and beat them with some flyers. But I mean.
But yeah, I was looking at it, I'm like, this figure is
it's
totally reasonable here because it's hard to know with a mythic rare until you've actually seen it in play.
with my experience now,
I would just watch it.
Very likely.
I have no idea how
Monument,
he got that card 6th though. It's like
I know there were 4 other people on this side of the table.
They must have each gone through the same logic.
There weren't that many.
I know. I'll play this
4 more
too.
Disfigures in the pack.
Exactly.
What are they taking over?
No, I thought the only 2 good cards in the pack at that point were that and
absolutely. I mean, it blew my mind when he played it. I literally just looked at him. You got that 6th?
Right.
How did that get to you?
And he shrugged and smiled. Right.
And then he killed me with it in game 1. Then he killed me with it in game 2. So.
Yeah. What kind of run is that guy on?
Oh, it's amazing.
4 Grand Prix top 8s in a row. Have you had the chance to play him before?
No, this is actually the first time I've played him, and I mean, he played very, very well. Yeah. And I mean, his deck seems fantastic.
Absolutely.
So I would be surprised not to see him in this top 8.
How good is Vampire's Bite?
Vampire. This is a card that I get a lot of flack for. I actually think Vampire's Bite it's a reasonable card. It's not a card that I want more than one of.
Okay.
In my deck, I have 3 more in my sideboard just in case. Right. But it's a card that I actually think because the format is pretty fast. Games often come down to races, and not only can this win a race with just +3/+0 or +3/+0 kill your blocker who you expect it to live. The lifelink part is actually pretty relevant a lot of times. I actually had a Vampire's Bite and a Slaughter Cry in my last deck, and both of them were great. They each won games. It was actually I made an attack against Paulo yesterday, in which I had Vampire's Bite and Slaughter Cry in my hand, attack with a bunch of creatures. There were no possible blocks that he could make that were good.
Interesting. So you'd rather have 1 than 0, but you'd probably rather have 0 than 2?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I'd prefer to have 0 Vampire Bite in my deck and would have, Burst Lightning, Hideous End, and things of that sort. But I mean, when it comes down to, 20-second cards, because typically I play 18 land in this format, I mean, Vampire's Bite is a fine inclusion.
Is this 18 land deck again?
It's an 18 land deck. I'll often have lighter land in some of the aggressive decks. I think between landfall and just the things like Crypt Ripper pumping.
Right.
I mean, this is a deck that's pretty heavy on the big end.
Yeah, I know you almost took a giant Scorpion over.
And I actually wish I did. I wish I had another Scorpion here. Scorpion, I actually think he's a great card, either in a beatdown deck or a control deck. In a beatdown deck, he can serve to hold the fort against their fatties as you're attacking with Sorokar Marauders and stuff, or just get in for 1 a turn because I don't want to block them and trade.
Right. So little top heavy on the forest, but pretty solid deck. I
think it's a fine deck.
A 2-1 deck, is that the theory?
I mean, at this point, I'm hoping for a 2-1 since I'm 0-1. So, but yeah, I hope to get good results from this. So.
Yeah, it looks good. Good luck to you. 8-1, still in spectacular place.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll see you on Sunday again.
I hope so.
But go back to backs. Stay tuned. Keep watching. Still got a lot of Pro Tour Austin left to play, so we'll see you then.